A massive drug bust at the port of Houston. Officials say they stopped more than 1,000 barrels of chemicals from China.
I want you to visualize that instead of these containers or these barrels, that you see American bodies, because that's what's happening in China's undeclared war against the United States.
Now, those essentially are the raw materials used to create meth. But I want to give you guys a better idea of just how massive this bust was here. U.S. Attorney for D.C. Janine Pirro tells me it took 24 big rigs.
Yeah, how big is this? Seizing this much drugs, I should say.
To these drug cartels, and particularly China, because China has the ability to stop this if they want to with these precursors. So this administration is honed in on China as well.
Federal agents from ICE and CBP intercepted a massive shipment of 50,000 kilograms of meth precursors from China at Houston Port, preventing the Sinaloa cartel from manufacturing 15 million doses worth nearly $500 million. This operation exposed a sophisticated transnational conspiracy turning American ports into entry points for chemical warfare against communities. Picture this: midnight at Houston Port, where massive cargo ships loom like shadows against a humid Texas night. Unmarked federal vans converge silently. Agents in tactical gear swarm the docks, and container doors are pried open under floodlights piercing the darkness. Flashbangs illuminate hidden compartments. Barrels tumble out as teams secure the perimeter. One by one, suspected cartel operatives are zip-tied and pulled from nearby vehicles. By dawn, 50,000 kilograms of alleged meth precursors are in custody. Sinaloa cartel crews, along with their Chinese supplier networks, who once thought they controlled the chemical flow. This was not random. Federal officials called it going after the worst of the worst. The trigger was the shocking overdose spike in Southwest communities, a wave of meth-related deaths last year, including a family of 4 poisoned by contaminated batches in rural Texas, hospitals overwhelmed, emergency rooms turning away victims. It was a crisis manufactured in hidden labs. But this echoed something darker. Just 3 years ago, a similar precursor shipment slipped through Los Angeles, fueling a meth epidemic that claimed over 2,000 lives in California alone. Authorities vowed then, never again. Will this crackdown end the cycle of addiction and dismantle the transnational network, or spark retaliation, only pausing the violence and driving it underground? That's the question we're asking tonight. Stay tuned and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for every chapter in this ongoing investigation. The clock struck midnight on June 1st, 2025, and the first container seal broke. 12 suspects were pulled into custody before dawn. 5 tied to Sinaloa cartel. 4 identified as Chinese supplier affiliates. The rest charged with aiding chemical smuggling. 1 suspect was booked on firearms charges, a loaded pistol seized from his vehicle. The others, flagged by ICE for immigration violations, were quickly placed into removal proceedings. The net widened. 18 arrests in a single night on June 2nd. 8 confirmed Sinaloa members, each with tattoos marking their allegiance, were marched out in handcuffs. Another cache of drugs surfaced. Another indictment was added. The raid turned violent. 22 arrests came after a chase through port access roads. 15 Sinaloa suspects were caught red-handed, cornered in the act of armed assault on a security guard. Police say the suspects carried machetes and small axes, echoing the brutal overdose wave from the inciting incident. 10 were charged with assault with a deadly weapon. The rest went straight to ICE custody. By day 4, June 4th, the sweep closed, with 15 more arrests. This time, a mix of Sinaloa and freelance chemical handlers. With them came radios, masks, and a stash of short blades, police displayed on a table as tools of terror. Officers called it evidence of a gang culture built on fear. In 4 nights, the tally was undeniable. There were 67 total arrests, 30 immediately flagged for deportation, and 37 defendants facing charges under state and federal law. The ICE special agent in charge told reporters, "This sends a clear message that we will not tolerate chemical warfare on American soil." For residents, the numbers brought relief, but also a sober reminder. Precursor chemicals and weapons pulled from quiet port warehouses. The raids were a warning that chemical smuggling isn't confined to distant headlines. It was hiding in Houston's backyards. And yet, a lingering question rises. Do 4 nights of sweeping arrests dismantle a network or only drive it deeper underground? The answer may decide whether these neighborhoods see peace restored or brace for the next cycle of violence. June 4th, 2025, the final night of raids had barely ended when word spread. One arrest stood above the rest. Joaquín El Chemist Ramirez, known on the street as El Químico, was led out in handcuffs. Authorities say he was not just another name on the list, but the alleged head of Sinaloa cartel's precursor importation wing, with ties reaching from Houston back to Sinaloa strongholds in Mexico. Prosecutors accuse him of involvement in at least 5 trafficking operations, stretching across Texas and Arizona. Killings tied to racketeering and the cartel's brutal discipline system, including the execution of 2 rivals who botched a prior shipment. For investigators, Ramirez's story exposes a deeper paradox. Records show he was deported in 2022, yet he returned, slipping back across the border, rebuilding his influence by coordinating with local crews until federal agents closed in. His case is already being cited in Washington as a rallying point for tougher immigration enforcement. The legal charges are sweeping: RICO conspiracy, chemical weapons trafficking, murder in furtherance of racketeering, federal firearms violations, and international money laundering. If convicted, Ramirez faces life in prison. To officials, this is the federal toolkit at work. Laws designed not just to punish individuals, but to dismantle entire criminal enterprises. The announcement from Washington framed the raid as more than a local victory. Nearly 70% of those taken into ICE custody, spokespeople said, already carried criminal records. Federal lists now also include fugitives wanted internationally, suspects linked to terrorism investigations, and individuals accused of human rights abuses abroad. In this framing, the Houston operation becomes part of a broader strategy to show that no safe harbor exists. Yet, alongside the crackdown came a twist in policy debate. Just weeks earlier, the federal administration advanced plans to reclassify marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, a move many see as softening penalties for drug offenses. The juxtaposition raised eyebrows. How can Washington wage war on organized drug trafficking while simultaneously reducing penalties for substances gangs profit from? Is this a pragmatic separation of violent crime from petty offenses, or a contradiction at the heart of federal policy? Beyond the barrels and busts, this seizure highlights the devastating toll on American families. Victims of meth addiction share stories of shattered lives. From a Houston mother who lost her son to an overdose linked to Sinaloa-supplied drugs, to communities in rural Texas where chemical labs have poisoned water supplies. Federal health experts estimate this shipment alone could have fueled 15,000 overdoses, underscoring the human stakes in these operations. Looking ahead, experts warn that cartels are adapting with new routes through Pacific ports and encrypted supply chains. ICE plans to deploy AI-enhanced scanners nationwide, but budget constraints loom. This bust buys time, but sustained funding and international pressure on Chinese manufacturers will be key to stemming the flow. So, we are left with a question. Is this midnight raid a turning point that bends the curve of addiction and restores order? Or only a pause before the next surge of chemical infiltration and retaliation? The answer lies not only with agents in the field, but with policymakers, educators, community leaders, and everyday citizens deciding how to cut the roots of the problem, not just its branches. Because these are not just stories of raids and arrests. They are lessons about justice, society, and the choices we face as a nation. Stay engaged, share your thoughts, and join the conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. What do you think? Will this operation make a lasting difference, or is this just another temporary victory? Let us know in the comments. Because the story isn't over, and neither is the debate.